right, another day, another situation has unfolded where Sheryl Swoopes is just not looking good in the media. What she's saying is not making sense. She's trying to play as a victim. People who aren't familiar with Sheryl Swoopes, the only thing they know of her as of now is that she just looks like a hater. A big hater. We're going to talk about this Sheryl Swoopes, Stephen A. Smith, Nancy Lieberman thing right after the intro. Boys, girls, he's, she's, they, them, we's, or whatever you choose to identify as. Welcome to the W360, your home for all things women's basketball. I'm your host, CJSoFoolish, and welcome to another episode, okay? If you're not subscribed to the W360, make sure you go ahead and subscribe right now. And if you are a returning subscriber or viewer, thank you so much for tuning in, and continue to tell a friend, and tell another friend about the W360. Like, share, comment, do all the things YouTube like for you to do with the YouTube channels so that the algorithm is nice to this channel, okay? Now, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the latest thing in this whole Sheryl Swoopes fiasco. Now, if you're not familiar with what's going on, Sheryl Swoopes and Stephen A. Smith has had this back and forth online. Nancy Lieberman has went on Stephen A. Smith's podcast to give her truths and her side of the story as far as what is going on between Sheryl Swoopes and this whole thing, this weird situation and energy around Sheryl Swoopes and Caitlin Clark and this one-sided beef. All right, so let's just start from the beginning, okay? Sheryl Swoopes was supposed to call the Dallas Wings in the Indiana Fever game this past weekend. Sheryl Swoopes, for some reason, did not appear as a commentator on the game. If you ask me, it's weird because now this whole thing with Sheryl Swoopes has gotten to a point to where she can't do her job when it comes to Caitlin Clark. Why, Sheryl? It's just sports. Nonetheless, Nancy stepped in and took over the call. Now, if you tuned into the game, you heard Nancy say a lot of credible things about Caitlin Clark. One of the things she said was that Caitlin Clark was a generational player. Caitlin Clark is going to be responsible for multiple WNBA players making millions of dollars. And she rightfully gave Caitlin Clark her credit, her due. Nancy said nothing wrong during the game. She gave fair critique about Caitlin Clark as well as Asia Wilson. She brought up the conversation as far as Caitlin Clark, white Jesus Clark, should be in the MVP conversation now, which is a good point. And she also went on to say in the game that you should embrace Caitlin Clark. Not hate or not just tolerate her, but just embrace Caitlin Clark, because players like herself and players like Sheryl Swoopes, the attention that the WNBA is getting now is what these two players and more have been begging for since the beginning. Nancy Lieberman said nothing wrong during this broadcast. So after the broadcast, a lot of conversations was created online as far as Nancy Lieberman threw shots at Sheryl Swoopes, and Nancy Lieberman called Sheryl Swoopes a hater, and Nancy Lieberman, said that Caitlin Clark should be in the MVP conversation, rightfully so. So Nancy Lieberman then goes on Stephen A. Smith's podcast and basically explained that, she didn't have anything, she doesn't have an issue with Sheryl Swoopes. She tried to reach out to Sheryl Swoopes and have a conversation with Sheryl Swoopes regarding all the backlash that she has been getting this season. Nancy said Sheryl Swoopes didn't want to have a conversation. So I would put up clips in this video from Stephen A. Smith's podcast, but I can't due to copyright issues. So if you haven't yet, I encourage you to go watch the interview or the episode of Stephen A. Smith's podcast with Nancy Lieberman on it. It was really good. Nonetheless, after the interview clips went viral on social media of Nancy explaining how, she reached out to Sheryl Swoopes. Sheryl Swoopes did not respond to her. And also how she reached out to Sheryl Swoopes stating that, hey, some of the things that you said about Caitlin Clark is factually incorrect. The things like she takes 40 shots a game. She was 25 years old, scoring on younger players. A lot of factually weird things that she's had to say about Caitlin Clark. Nancy reached out to her. So when the clips go viral, Sheryl Swoopes responds to the clip and says to Nancy, "Now here you go. I get what you're trying to do with your boy Stephen A. Smith, but it ain't working. You know good and well what happened. And ditto, my life is good without you too. And him. You want to go there?" Sheryl Swoopes tweets again to Stephen A. Smith, "You forgot to ask her about this." So what Sheryl Swoopes is referring to is when the entire thing happened with Kennedy Carter and White Jesus in the game, when Kennedy Carter Goldberg speared Caitlin Clark, Nancy Lieberman came out and said, if I were Caitlin Clark, I would have punched her in the face. I would have told her to F off. This is right on board with Nancy Lieberman and the type of player that she was and the type of person that she is. Read up on Nancy Lieberman and her past. She's choked other players before. This is right on board. But back to what Sheryl Swoopes said. She reached out to Stephen A. and said, you forgot to ask her about this. Sheryl, you're wrong again. Stephen A. and Nancy Lieberman did talk about this situation. Nancy did explain that Teresa Weatherspoon reached out to her. Teresa Weatherspoon and her had a conversation. Teresa Weatherspoon explained to Nancy that she didn't like what she said to the press. They had a conversation and moved on. Unlike what you were able to do with Nancy after the whole Caitlin Clark and the comments that you've made on Gilbert Arenas podcast. Sheryl Swoopes then went on to tweet Stephen A. Smith again. Again, bring me on your show with or without your backup, Nancy Lieberman. All of this it's weird. It's weird. Then Sheryl Swoopes goes on to reveal private messages between her and Caitlin Clark. She reveals that she tweeted Caitlin Clark. Here you go. This is from February. She reveals that she tweeted Caitlin Clark and said, hey, Caitlin, I wanted to personally reach out to you and say I made a mistake on what year this is for you. COVID year has me all confused. LOL. I also have nothing but respect for you and your game and appreciate your skill. Congrats on everything you have accomplished thus far. Be blessed. Caitlin Clark responded to Sheryl Swoopes and said, no worries at all. I really appreciate you reaching out and there's no hard feelings. I appreciate all you have done for women's basketball and for inspiring girls like me and building the foundation and platform we have today. Sheryl Swoopes, it looks like she messaged her back and said, you're very welcome. Sheryl Swoopes, you are a 4-time WNBA champion. You're a 3-time WNBA MVP and an NCAA national champion. Everyone knows you're the GOAT, but all of this riffraff around you at this point is weird. And it's stemming from you because of things like that you just did on Twitter. Why are you tweeting out conversations between you and Caitlin Clark and saying, see, look, I apologize to Caitlin Clark. Sheryl, this was back in February. And since then, you've still gone on to say weird things. And then even after that, it's getting to a point to where you won't call the game that Caitlin Clark is playing in against Dallas after you've privately apologized to Caitlin Clark. This doesn't seem weird to you. All of the conversation around this Sheryl Swoopes and Caitlin Clark thing is weird on social media. Sheryl Swoopes is participating in Twitter spaces on Twitter, guys, that sounds like an online asylum. All of it is weird. People just want to see good hoops. This isn't how legends act. Everyone keeps hollering, she's a legend. Sheryl Swoopes is a legend. She's the GOAT. She is. She is legendary. She is a GOAT. She's not acting like one. She's acting bitter. Sheryl, you look bad right now. You look bad. And this isn't all Sheryl Swoopes' fault. This falls on her counterparts as well. The other women in the media, I'm not talking about regular Twitter people. I'm talking about the women in the media that covers the WNBA who will not hold her accountable. They won't hold her accountable and say, Sheryl, you're wrong. You're a legend. Everyone knows you're the GOAT. Everyone knows you're a legend. Everyone knows about you. And those who aren't familiar with you, I think you should tone this down some, because those who don't know about you, the younger generation that's here at the WNBA, because of Caitlin Clark, what they're going to know about you is that you're the Skip Bayless to Caitlin Clark. A hater. That's it. Just a hater. That's what people are going to know you as, Sheryl. You're ruining your legacy. Hating on Caitlin Clark. And I won't even say hating. Just being weird. Weird. I don't know what Caitlin Clark has done to these people. All of this is happening. You're losing friendships. I mean, years friendships behind a 22-year-old who hasn't even said anything. White Jesus just comes out in hoops. She praised you on SNL. Every time she's asked about you, she gives you props. But for some reason, when Sheryl is asked about White Jesus, she loses. The cat got your tongue. What's happening? What is happening in your life right now, Sheryl, to cause you to act like this? Who did it? Who did it? It wasn't White Jesus. And so now what's happening is, she's saying on social media, if I say something about Caitlin, I'm attacked by her fans. If I don't say something about Caitlin, I'm still attacked by her fans. That's not true, Sheryl. All people are telling you is, why are you being weird? Stop listening to these people on social media. They have you looking bad. Awful. And her counterparts as well, who won't hold her responsible. Why? Because you're going to lose your invite to the cookout? Take my invite. Take my invite. Take my invite. I don't care. My thing is, when I see corniness and goofy behavior, I'm going to call it out. This is corny and goofy, Sheryl. You're ruining your legacy. You're ruining your legacy. You know how many old fans have said, I'm just so disappointed, including myself. I'm so disappointed in Sheryl. What happened? I mean, we watched you play. When you were playing with the comments, we begged our parents to go out and buy your overpriced shoes. We supported you, Sheryl. I hope she gets it together. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Has this one-sided beef with Sheryl Swoopes and Caitlin Clark gone too far? What about the conversations that's been created around this? Is it just weird or is it just me? Was Nancy Lieberman right, or did she betray Sheryl Swoopes by going on Stephen A. Smith's podcast and just telling her side of the story? Nonetheless, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, okay? Until next episode, peace and soul grease.